Hello, and welcome back to Skepticus. We are continuing our journey through the Bible from an atheist perspective. Last time we went through Genesis 12 through 19, which, as usual, had all sorts of disgusting things in it. We saw, kind of working backwards, we saw that once again, God decided that mass murder is a great way to solve the problems of humanity as he wiped out Sodom and Gomorrah. We saw that one of the more righteous men to be one of the only men to be saved from Sodom because he was righteous was the same man Lot, who would offer up his virgin daughters to a horde of sexually depraved strangers to do with as they will. We saw that Abraham is quite literally insane. Just sees visions of God and decides that based upon these visions that we're going to instantiate a new ritual for all eternity of genital mutilation, and he's going to bring that right back home to his home as fast as possible, including all of his slaves, because Abraham and God, they loved them some slaves. We've even seen where there's apparently no problem in the Bible with women deciding that the only way we can continue our family line is to get dad drunk as hell and to do him. Yeah, this is the Bible. So holy, so wonderful. Before we get into the next things about the more insanity about Abraham, I want to give you a quick side story here. As you watch some of these videos, I'm sure you've noticed that I have these images I throw up behind me, mostly for some visual variety. I think you don't necessarily want to just stare at my face for an hour or something as I'm talking about these Bible verses. So I throw up these images, and if you know anything about AI, you've probably recognized, at least on a couple of these, that looks AI generated. And they are AI generated. I know some people don't like that. They have certain feels about that, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and try to manually draw out hundreds of these images when I have no skill for that whatsoever, and I don't have any money to pay an artist. So they're just generic images. But I bring this up because it is hard to get AI to actually generate some of these images, because when I describe, even in very vague terms, these scenes or just general ideas of things that I'm trying to illustrate on screen, AI keeps telling me, oh, we can't do an image like that. That violates our terms, our content policies, because essentially everything that we're talking about here is gross. It's violent. It's abusive. It brings up imagery of sexual abuse and just all kinds of violent, nasty things that ChatGPT and other engines say, no, we won't make those images. Even when I tried to get more specific and say, this is just me trying to do a very generic illustration of something that comes from this Bible verse, sometimes it would come back and literally say, yes, we understand you're trying to represent that Bible verse, but because of our content policies, we cannot represent that imagery. In other words, even AI knows that some of this stuff is just really gross. And that's so sad, because this is what Christianity holds up as the awesome stuff that it wants to have in its foundational texts. But hey, that's why we're doing this, because I believe firmly that if you have any doubts about Christianity and you're not sure what to really believe, I mean, you don't have to make things up and you don't have to go to people just for their opinions. Christianity will give you the receipts. The receipts are right there in their holy texts that are not flattering whatsoever. Now, to be clear, the Christian apologist, there's nothing that a Christian apologist cannot make an excuse for. So I'm not trying to tell you that I've said anything in this series so far or that I will say anything at any point in the future that a Christian apologist cannot hand-wave away, because it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if their holy heroes have murdered and raped and bought and sold slaves. It doesn't matter what they've done. For a Christian apologist, for the really hardcore ones, they can find a way to hand-wave anything away. But if you are not already a hardcore Christian apologist, then it's not hard to look through these texts and see that there's a lot here to dislike. So with that being said, we're going to dive in now to Genesis 20. Genesis 20 is a furthering of the narrative of Abraham. Yes, this insane, slave-owning, raping, genital mutilating dude. And it's kind of scary. We haven't even reached the best part yet. So this is Genesis 20, Abraham and Abimelech. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but we'll see. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. Does this sound familiar? Because it really should. Yes, once again, the world's first bona fide PIMP is at it again. Not once, but now for the second time. This is one of Abraham's favorite tricks. He has to move somewhere else where maybe they won't be welcomed. And apparently his wife is hot, although at this point she's like 100 years old, so that she had to be one of the world's great beauties, because apparently everyone is just into her. And rather than, I don't know, just lay low and make sure you don't get in the king's way, no, he is so worried about his own backside and making sure that he is safe and continuing to be rich and richer, that he is more than willing to pimp his wife out to a king. It's happened once already with the Pharaoh in Egypt, and now here it is with Abimelech, king of Gerar. Once again, he is pulling this lie, saying, she's my sister. And what comes of that lie? Well, Abimelech says, I like me some Sarah, so he took her. Now, to be clear, that means he took her with Abraham's blessing, because it's clearly he didn't fight this. He came up with this idea. He's pimping her out. After Abimelech took Sarah, I think you should take that in every way possible. It says, but God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, you are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman. Now, that's great of God, but, first of all, why would he do that before? And second of all, why is it that he's threatening Abimelech when it is Abraham's idea and Abraham has lied and Abraham has pimped her out? I don't know. But apparently Abimelech is the one who is as good as dead, because the woman he has taken as a married woman, even though how would he know that? Because everyone lied to him about it. Now Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, she is my sister, and didn't she also say, he is my brother? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. So clearly Abimelech's like, look, everybody's lying to me. Why are you coming to me on this? They've all lied to me. Abraham and Sarah have both said that they're siblings. What did Abimelech do wrong? And that's exactly why he's protesting. Then God said to him in the dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. So I guess they were together, but I guess he hadn't actually done the nasty yet. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you and you will live. But if you do not return to her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die. Here's a really crazy idea, God. Maybe you should talk to your boy Abraham and say, stop this shit. Really? Who gave you the idea to keep doing this, to keep going around and pimping out your wife to kings and saying, oh, she's my sister? Maybe God should say, stop that. That's gross. Early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done. And Abimelech asked Abraham, what was your reason for doing this? I love this because he's just calling, just like Pharaoh did. Pharaoh did the same thing. And he was like, dude, what the hell? So Abimelech's like, what was the thinking for this? Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife, which is the same excuse he used last time. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. So he's like, dude, it's not really a lie. She's my half-sister. Ew. And when God had made me wander from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. This is how you can show your love to me. Go screw other kings. Yeah, that's how you show love to Abraham. Okay. Then Abimelech brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham. What did I tell you? He's pimping her out. This is the same thing that happened with Pharaoh. And he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. And Abimelech said, my land is before you. Live wherever you like. First of all, Abimelech, I guess, had God come and, lay the verbal smackdown on him. So it's not like he's doing this out of entirely goodwill. He's basically trying to buy himself out of an awkward situation that he had no fault for being in the first place. Because Abraham and Sarah are liars. To Sarah, he said, I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver, your brother who's also your husband. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated. What offense? There was no offense. They lied to him. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female slaves so they could have children again. For the Lord had kept all the women in Abimelech's household from conceiving because of Abraham's wife Sarah. Now, I brought this up before because it said that when they pulled this crap in Egypt, that the Pharaoh's house had diseases. And I couldn't help but wonder, does Sarah have STDs? Now, keep in mind that some types of STDs can absolutely make you sterile, and she had not been able to conceive a child with Abraham until finally the Lord intervened, far late in her life, and she could have Isaac. But otherwise, she was apparently infertile, barren, if you will. And now they're saying that in Abimelech's household, the Lord had to heal them because his wife and his female slaves, they could have children again. This sounds a lot to me like Sarah's got some kind of STDs, and everywhere she goes, she spreads these. She's apparently really hot, even for an old lady now. She spreads these STDs around, and she lies to everyone about not being married, and then Abraham works all of this for his profit because he's a PIMP. Yeah, this is one of the founding fathers of Christianity. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Loving this. And now we get to the birth of Isaac. Genesis 21. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God commanded him. Yeah, got to cut off that foreskin. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him, which would mean I think Sarah was like 10 years younger. So she's like 90 at this point. Still finding other kings to screw and then spread diseases to their family and then use it as a way for them to get more money. Great. And by money, I mean livestock and slaves, because those are the currencies of Abraham. Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children, yet I have borne him a son in his old age? Hagar and Ishmael sent away. Remember them? The child grew and was weaned, and on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking. And she said to Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. The matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. But God said to him, do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring. Early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, I cannot watch the boy die. And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. The treaty at Beersheba. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his forces, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do, you pimpant bastard. Now swear to me here before God that you will not deal falsely with me or my children or my descendants. Show to me and the country where you now reside as a foreigner the same kindness I have shown to you. Abraham said, I swear it. Yeah, because his word's really good. Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized. But Abimelech said, I don't know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I heard about it only today. So Abraham brought sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a treaty. Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs from the flock, and Abimelech asked Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs you have set apart by themselves? He replied, accept these 7 lambs from my hand as a witness that I dug this well. So that place was called Beersheba because the 2 men swore an oath there. After the treaty had been made at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his forces, returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time. So what does Genesis 21 tell us? Well, first of all, it confirms that Sarah is absolutely still a hardcore bitch. She is the one who had originally said, here, go rape this slave, because maybe that will be how you have descendants. And then as soon as Hagar was pregnant, Sarah decided she didn't like this arrangement after all. And now that she has her own child by Abraham, of course she's going to be a complete bitch and try to get Hagar out of the picture, which she does. Because you know what? Abraham ain't stopping her. The first time this came up, Abraham said, she's your slave. You do with her what you want. This is when Hagar was pregnant with his only child at the time. And now that he has this child, he's just like, yeah, we'll send him away. We'll send him away. And the situation was so dire that Hagar believed that they were going to die in the desert. And I love how clueless the Lord and his angels are when they come to talk to people like this. Because here it says, God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. She's dying of thirst in the desert, dumbass. That's what's the matter. Okay? Don't sit here and act like, why would you be afraid? Your son is about to die of thirst. You put him under a bush. Like, come on. Don't be obtuse. You're the freaking Lord. Don't be a dumbass. Oh my gosh. You know damn well why she's crying. Because you did nothing to protect her. She's out in the desert now. Your boy Abraham has completely just shunted her aside. And who cares? Because she's a slave. And all this talk about, oh, he's going to have his own nation. That's great. But I'll tell you what, it's just so ignorant and so purposely obtuse to sit here and act like you don't know why she's sitting there crying. It's gross. So, let's see. They just go through the rest of this with this well and Abimelech, and they make their little treaty. So that is Genesis 21. Now Isaac has his official son. He already had Ishmael, the donkey man, but now he has Isaac. So of course we're going to take Hagar and the son and just shove them out the back door, because hey, they're slaves. And why would people get treated any differently as slaves in the Bible than they are in modern times? Oh, that's right, they're not. No matter what the Christian apologists try to tell you, slaves are not in some better social class just because it's biblical times. It's not any less gross. It's slavery. Genesis 22. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Like, do we really need that? Like, is that even providing anything to the guy? Thanks for that. Then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. I'm sure you've heard this story before, but I'm going to hammer this sucker home, because God just told Abraham, go sacrifice Isaac. Sometime later, I'm not sure if they say how old Isaac is here. He's definitely not an infant, because he speaks in this narrative. He's clearly old enough to carry things, so I think this is like teen years. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, Father? Yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and the wood are here, Isaac said, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God. Now I know that you fear God. Now I know. Because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Here we go again with the damn descendants. We get it. He already told him he's going to have 1,000 descendants. What good is this? Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me. Of course, he also told them that your descendants will be enslaved in crappy conditions in Egypt for 400 years. Make up your mind. Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they set off together for Beersheba, and Abraham stayed in Beersheba. Nahor's sons. Sometime later, Abraham was told, Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz the firstborn, Buz his brother. Yes, Uz and Buz. Okay. Kemuel, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore those 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Ruma, also had sons, blah, blah, blah. Okay, more lineage. Okay, let's go back on this for a second. God comes to Abraham. Have I mentioned that Abraham is stark, raving, freaking lunatic, mad, insane? I mean, all God has to do is, just apparently appear to him in a dream, or some guy comes to his door and he's like, oh, this is God. I mean, he's willing to believe that anyone and anything is God. And he's willing to believe that he talks to God every day, and nobody thinks that's strange. Apparently, that's just all cool. God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain. I want to be very clear with you here. When we read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah several chapters back, when God said, I am going to wipe out the city of Sodom, Abraham's instinct was to negotiate with God, to bargain with him. He said, what if I find 50 people there that are righteous? And God said, okay, if you find 50, I will spare them. And he said, what if I found 45? And God said, fine, if you find 45, I'll spare them. And it's actually ridiculous how many, they went to 40, and then they went to 30, and then they went to 20 and 10. Every time God said, fine, if you find that many righteous people, I will spare them. And aside from the fact that it's very disturbing that God didn't know how many righteous people, or if there were any righteous people in Sodom, that we talked about that last video. The fact is that Abraham pleaded basically on the side of humanity. But when God comes to him and says, murder your son, he doesn't ask any questions. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't do anything but just say, yes, sir. Okay, let's go get the donkey and head up to go murder Isaac. Not even a question. No question whatsoever. Just, sure, let's go kill Isaac. If that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. This is the same man who at 99, God said, you're going to cut off a piece of your dick. And Abraham went, okay. And then he went that day and did it. And then he made sure he did to everyone who lived in his house, including all the slaves and his brothers and his children and everything. They all had to have a piece of their dick cut off. And Abraham didn't have a problem with that. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because he believes once again that he has talked to God, And the message that God gave him was go murder your son. And he was just like, okay, let's go do some murdering. It's murdering time. And then, I mean, just even the way he does it, it's pretty creepy and gross. You know, he gives, Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. Here, go carry all the wood to the top of the mountain that we're going to use to burn your body, because we're going to murder you. And he doesn't say that, but how gross. It's like forcing someone to dig their own grave. I mean, it's total insult to injury. And this is what he's doing with his son. And then even when his son speaks up, he's like, Dad? And Abraham's like, yes. He's like, we have fire and we have wood. Where's the lamb? And Abraham's like, oh, don't you worry about that. We're going to have a lamb to sacrifice. Knowing damn well he's talking about killing his own son. I want to harp on this because this is, I mean, even Christians will tell you that this is a tough story. It's a problematic story, but this is held up as this great example of someone who had the ultimate faith in God. God says, go sacrifice your son. And he just says, okay, Lord. God says jump, and he says how high. And it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. And we all know, if any other 100-year-old man came back and, decided that he had just talked to God, and the result of his conversation with God was that he had to murder his son, we would hold that man up as being a homicidal, insane maniac. In any other context, this is one of the grossest stories you have ever heard in your life. And yet, when it's in the Bible, now it's the subject of Sunday school talks. Now it's the subject of sermons from the pulpit. There is no discernment given to this, the nasty and horrible nature of these stories when we wrap it in the ultimate deodorizing blanket of religion and the Bible and our foundational religious texts. We take every aspect of our brain and just go, boop, let's just set that right over there. Won't be needing that anymore. And now we're just going to blindly accept anything that's written in this book. It doesn't matter if it's criminally, homicidally insane. It doesn't matter if it is morally bankrupt. Not only will we not apply even the most basic of human logic to this, but we will pervert it so badly that we will take this story and we will hold this man up as a hero of God, as one of the most righteous and important men in the entire Bible, just because it's part of the Bible. That's really gross. That is really gross. And there's no way to defend this. I mean, you really can't. I mean, it's amazing that they still found a way to make him more gross. This is after he had, on the suggestion of his wife, raped his slave and then told her, fine, do whatever you want with that slave. I don't care. I don't care if she's pregnant with my kid. This is the same guy who lied to not one but two kings about him not being married and about Sarah just being his sister so that he could pimp her out and get richer at their expense. And I'm pretty sure from the text that also resulted in her spreading diseases to the courts of two kings in this process. I mean, just every part of this is disgusting. This is a man who joyfully embraced the idea of genital mutilation and imposed it upon every member of his household, including all of those poor involuntary slaves who just happened to be unlucky enough to be under the thumb of a 99-year-old maniac who believes he just talked to God and said, you got to cut off a piece of your penis. And in spite of all that, they find some way to make it worse. As if that wasn't enough, they had to find some way just to make it even worse. And they did. Go murder your son. And yeah, I know it has a happy ending, I guess. You know, the angel comes down and stops them. I think maybe that's supposed to teach us something too. But first of all, Isaac, he should be traumatized by this. And if he's not, I mean, maybe he's not, because he's probably being raised to be just as delusional as his father. But this should traumatize the hell out of you. It never even says either, like, did Isaac struggle? I mean, it's sad to think about, but it says when they reached the place God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. This is, of course, after he told them the cheeky little lie about, oh, don't worry, the Lord's going to provide a lamb for the burnt offering. Yeah, don't worry. But at some point, Isaac had to he was already putting 2 and 2 together as they're going up the mountain. So at some point when he starts getting bound, does he fight back? Or is he so brainwashed by his geriatric jerk of a dad that he actually went along with it? I don't know. But the whole thing is horrific. And this is another thing I know ChatGPT won't even let me generate an image for, because it's too gross to generate images for. This is disgusting behavior. It's violent. It's child murder. I mean, it's insane. And why would any religion hold this up as being something that they should be proud of in their religious texts? I don't know. I don't know why these things get no scrutiny. All right, moving on. Genesis 23, the death of Sarah. That's just a shame. She was such a wonderful person. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died at Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. He said, I am a foreigner and stranger among you. Sell me some property for a burial site here so I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Sir, listen to us. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead. Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land, the Hittites. He said to them, If you are willing to let me bury my dead, then listen to me and intercede with Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf. So he will sell me the cave of Machpelah, which belongs to him and is at the end of his field. Ask him to sell it to me for the full price as a burial site among you. Ephron, the Hittite, was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. No, my lord, he said. Listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in their hearing, Listen to me, if you will. I will pay the price of the field. Accept it from me so I can bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, Listen to me, my lord. Are they not? Do they have any doubt that they're listening to each other? Because do they have to start every sentence with listen to me? Otherwise the other person doesn't listen? Like, just some of this structure is so banal. Ephron answered Abraham, Listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but what is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. So Ephron's field in Machpelah near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of the field, was deeded to Abraham as his property in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. This is Genesis 23. After having read all that now, I only have one simple question for you. Why? What's the point of this whole chapter? I mean, Sarah dies, and I understand she's a pretty central character because she's, just such a delightful bitch that we had to make sure to note her passing. But, okay, she was Abraham's wife and very important, the mother of Isaac, blah, blah, blah. Even if she was a horrible human being. So I understand that maybe they felt it worthy that we should talk about the fact that Sarah's died. But I mean, this whole thing, this back and forth about, no, just pick a tomb and bury her. No, I will pay you for this land. And blah, 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 blah. Listen to me, listen to me. No, listen to me. No, listen to me. Okay, all we really needed to know was that Sarah lived to be 127 years old, and she died at Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. There you go. That's all we really need to know from chapter 23. I mean, if we even needed to know that, but I mean, that's done. That's all we need. It's so weird because, these verses and these chapters, on one level, they are very, very terse. It's not like you're reading Game of Thrones. It's 300, 400, 500, 600 pages thick, this really, really small text. One chapter sometimes can be read in 5 minutes, right? Some of these chapters. The verses are essentially a sentence or two each is a verse. I don't even know why they list them as verses. I'm sure biblical scholars can tell you this. But the point is, on one level, they're very, very terse. And yet, on the other level, sometimes they spend so much time repeating crap that doesn't need to be repeated or going into weird little bits of minutia that nobody cares about. Like, it doesn't tell you anything about morality or the nature of God, or it doesn't even enhance the historical aspect of the text. It's just like, wow, you felt like we needed to go on for 6 or 7 or 8 paragraphs about Abraham negotiating back and forth with the Hittites for a burial plot. Sure. Whatever. Who cares? Okay. So Sarah's dead. Yay. Genesis 24. Isaac and Rebekah. Remember, Isaac is the one who was almost killed. Abraham was now very old, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to the senior servant in his household, that is, slave, the one in charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living, but will go to my country and my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. First of all, I want you to put your hand under my thigh. What? I mean, is that a thing? I don't know. Was that like a common way to swear an oath back then? Put your hand under my thigh? I mean, it sounds perverted, like, hey, servant, come here. What's in my pocket? Put your hand under my thigh and swear an oath. Like, okay. Are we swearing on the Lord here? Or are we swearing on something else you had in your pants? I don't know. But he said, put your hand under my thigh. Sure. I mean, the slave's going to do whatever you tell him to, unfortunately. And then I guess he just has to prove to us that amongst all of his other stellar traits, he's also a bigot. Because all he really cares about is that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites. No matter what you do, don't go to those filthy Canaanites. I mean, this has all the wonderful romance and nuance to it of like some old white Confederate dudes, calling someone to his side saying, no matter what happens, make sure my son doesn't marry any colored folk. I mean, that's what it really sounds like. it sounds like he's just got this big bigoted aspect and view toward the Canaanites. And that's all he cares about is come put your hand under my thigh and swear to God that you won't find a wife for my son amongst the Canaanites. All right, I don't know. Maybe the Canaanites didn't have a love for deodorant, or maybe they didn't have a great reputation for being eloquent or intelligent or good looking. I don't know. But I'm assuming that the entire land of Canaanites was not full of idiots or horrible people or unclean people. I think it's just that Abraham was a bigot, because being bigoted would go along so well with all of his other wonderful traits. The servant asked him, "What if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country you came from?" "Make sure that you do not take my son back there," Abraham said. "The Lord, the God of heaven, who brought me out of my father's household and my native land, and who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, 'To your offspring I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you so that you can get a wife for my son from there. If the woman is unwilling to come back with you, bonk her over the head and..." No, it doesn't say that. "If the woman is unwilling to come back with you, then you will be released from this oath of mine. Only do not take my son back there." So the servant put his hand under the thigh of his master, Abraham, and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Did they swear the oath like this? Or like, okay, it's... Then the servant left, taking with him 10 of his master's camels loaded with all kinds of good things from his master. He set out for Aram Naharaim and made his way to the town of Nahor. He had the camels kneel down near the well outside the town. It was toward evening, the time the women go out to draw water. Then he prayed, "Lord God of my master Abraham, make me successful today and show kindness to my master Abraham. See, I am standing beside this spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. May it be that when I say to a young woman, 'Please let down your jar that I may have a drink,' and she says, 'Drink, and I'll water your camels too,' let her be the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac. By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master." This is a really convoluted dating match game here. I mean, if you think Tinder is a pain in the ass, this idea that I'm going to... First of all, he's stalking the water well. I mean, this almost seems like gators that are waiting by the water, for crocodiles, for you to come up and they're going to snatch you. This seems creepy as hell, but okay, he's going to go stalk the well so that when all the women come to replenish the water jugs and such, he can then essentially creep on them. Okay. Before he had finished praying, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Which basically means that she's Isaac's cousin, I guess. Something like that. The woman was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever slept with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. Somebody's sentence. Okay. The woman was very beautiful, a virgin. Well, okay, I guess the text tells us that, but I mean, it's not like these two are connected. Like, oh, she's beautiful, she must be a virgin. And then it says, the woman was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever slept with her. Yeah, that's what virgin means. I mean, I guess they wanted to make sure that there was no ambiguity, that we weren't thinking like virgin olive oil. No, like virgin, like never had sex. Yeah, that's what we mean. I knew that's what we meant, but they had to make sure we knew that anyway. Sure. The servant hurried to meet her and said, "Please give me a little water from your jar." "Drink, my lord," she said, and quickly lowered the jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, "I'll draw water for your camels too until they have had enough to drink." So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the well to draw more water, and drew enough for all his camels. Which, by the way, he could have done this. This is like the cheesiest little game. Without saying a word, the man watched her closely to learn whether or not the Lord had made his journey successful. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a beka and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels. Then he asked, "Whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" Keep in mind, when they say he took these out, it's not like he just took them out and then moved them to a different pocket. I mean, this dude is like flash and bling, as it would like, look at this. I've got a gold nose ring. I've got 2 gold bracelets. Whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your house? Like, oh man, this is creepy. This is like some dude who has like really ostentatious rings, who then like plunks them down on the table in front of you in this gross way, and then tries to act like, tries to get you all excited about what's on his hand. She answered him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son that Milcah bore to Nahor." And she added, "We have plenty of straw and fodder, as well as room for you to spend the night." Then the man bowed down and worshipped the Lord, saying, "Praise be to the Lord." And did he do this right in front of her? Like, did he just like get down on his knees like, "Praise God, I found a woman for my master. Praise be to the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness and faithfulness to my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives." Yeah, he's finding Isaac's cousin. Nice. The young woman ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, or Laban, I don't know, Laban, named Laban, and he hurried out to the man at the spring. As soon as he had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, notice they're on his sister now, so that's why he brought these out, and had heard Rebekah tell what the man said to her, he went out to the man and found him standing by the camels near the spring. "Come, you who are blessed by the Lord," he said. "Why are you standing out here? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels." So the man went to the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and fodder were brought for the camels, and water for him and his men to wash their feet. Then food was set before him, but he said, "I will not eat until I have told you what I have to say." "Then tell us," Laban said. So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy." First of all, they know who Abraham is. It's their cousin, okay? Or their uncle, or whatever. I mean, he has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife Sarah has borne him a son in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. And my master made me swear an oath and said, "You must not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites." No, never the Canaanites, "in whose land I live, but go to my father's family and to my own clan and get a wife for my son." Then I asked my master, "What if the woman will not come back with me?" He replied, "The Lord before whom I have walked faithfully will send his angel with you and make your journey a success, so that you can get a wife for my son from my own clan and from my father's family. You will be released from my oath if, when you go to my clan, they refuse to give her to you. Then you will be released from my oath." When I came to the spring today, I said, Lord God of my master Abraham, if you will, please grant success to the journey on which I have come. See, I am standing beside this spring. If a young woman comes out to draw water, and I say to her, "Please let me drink a little water from your jar," and if she says to me, "Drink, and I'll draw water for your camels too," let her be the one the Lord has chosen for my master's son. They've just told us this story. Why do we then have to read the part where he says the whole thing again? Like I said, these chapters are very small, and yet they take the time to tell us the story at the top, and then someone says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Here, let me relate the whole thing to you again." And so then we have to read it again. This is horrible. Before I finished praying in my heart, Rebecca came out with her jar on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water, and I said to her, "Please give me a drink." She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and I'll water your camels too." So I drank. She watered the camels also. We know this because we just read it. I asked her, "Whose daughter are you?" She said, "The daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him," which is the same thing she said 10 verses before. Then I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her arm, and I bowed down and worshipped the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right road to get the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now if you will show kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, so I may know which way to turn. Laban and Bethuel answered, "This is from the Lord. We can say nothing to you one way or the other. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed." When Abraham's servant heard what they said, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then the servant brought out gold and silver jewelry and articles of clothing and gave them to Rebekah. He's basically buying the bride. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up the next morning, he said, "Send me on my way to my master." But her brother and her mother replied, "Let the young woman remain with us 10 days or so. Then you may go." But he said to them, "Do not detain me. Now that the Lord has granted success to my journey, send me on my way so I may go to my master." That's a dick move. You just showed up, basically said, "Hey, I need your daughter to marry my master's son." And they've been cool about it. They accepted all your bribery and everything, but they've been pretty cool about it. And all they said is, "Hey, can you give us 10 days? Because you know that once he takes her, who knows, they may not see her again for years." And they're like, "Can we get 10 days? And he's like, "No, man, I got to go. Do not detain me. I got to be on my way." What a jerk. Then he said, "Let's call the young woman and ask her about it." So they called Rebekah and asked her, "Will you go with this man?" "I will go," she said. She's still looking at them gold bracelets. So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, "Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the cities of their enemies." Because apparently this is all those people cared about. Then Rebekah and her attendants got ready and mounted the camels, went back with the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac had come from Beer Lahai Roi, for he was living in the Negev. He went out to the field one evening to meditate, and as he looked up, he saw camels approaching. Rebekah also looked up and saw Isaac. She got down from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is that man in the field coming to meet us?" "He is my master," the servant answered. "He's going to be your new husband. Get ready to bone." So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac all he had done. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother, Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted as to his mother's death. What a beautiful love story. That is the story of how you go to your neighbor's land and buy the next bride for your master's son. Lovely. Okay, I think we are going to, yes, we have spent plenty of time. We're going to cut off here, and then we will get to go later on into Genesis 24. Let me read more of the good word. Thanks for checking me out on Skepticus. I hope to see you again soon.